Talking about our selection options in Photoshop, I'm going to go back to the background layer and select another tool here in the toolbar is the polygonal lasso tool. And this is a rarely used one for me unless I'm dealing with some architectural shapes. But let's see if we can find something that fits that bill. Let's try here, and I'm just going to click once, and then it creates a point that you can drag and click again, and then it creates another point that you can click and drag again and make a point by clicking and clicking, and then once you make it all the way around, it'll make a selection. For me, it just gave me a warning that that area was not large enough, so I'm going to try to find another part of this image where I could demonstrate this. So the other thing that happened was that I have my feather amount from a previous selection here. Looks like it's way too high, so I'm going to put that back down to 0, and I think that'll actually alleviate the problem. Let me try this quickly again. And that was the problem. I had my feather amount too high. It was over the 30 pixel radius, but now I've made a selection with my polygonal lasso tool. I could hit Command C, Command V, and then select the move tool and move that out of there. Well, you know, not the most interesting demonstration, but you can see that it works. The next tool that we'll be looking at is the lasso tool, and as the name suggests, you will be able to lasso your selection. So if we're going to do this head, I'm clicking and dragging, and I'm freeform writing this actual selection. So this is something that's really hard to do, especially if you're using a trackpad or a mouse like I am, but it roughly selects what you're trying to do. I'm going to hit Command D, and remember that deselects. I'm going to do the magnetic lasso tool next, and the magnetic lasso tool is interesting because it looks for points of contrast while you're using it. So here it's doing a fairly good job with this coat, not the best job, but a fairly good job with this coat. And here I can go down a little bit more and extend it. So points of contrast is what the magnet in the magnetic lasso tool is looking for. This is a pretty good one, but I think in terms of its overall speed, it doesn't really select very fast. So for this project especially, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to be using the magnetic lasso tool all the time, especially it's like a combination of the free form of the lasso and the algorithms of the next tool that I'll show you, which is the quick select tool. So I'm going to hit Command D to deselect that, and I'll go to my quick select tool. Now this is really the go-to selection tool that you'll be using the most. It is a paintbrush and a selection tool at the same time. The way that you can change this is just like any other brushes inside of Photoshop. There is the pull down menu for the brush itself, and you can see it says 80, we're at 80 pixels, we're at 100% hardness, and then there's a 25% spacing, and that's if you click and hold, it'll wait 25% before reactivating it. Now this is a really easy tool to use with the shortcuts. We have left bracket key to make it smaller and right bracket key to make it larger. What I'm going to try to do is make a selection here, and I'm going to select this apron, and just clicking once it found it very easily. The interesting thing about this tool is that you can add and subtract to the selection just like many of the other selection tools, And we'll demonstrate more about how that might be useful in the future. But here, if I come over and make another selection below the person's leg that's dancing, you can see that I've made an entire selection of the apron itself. So if I do Command C and then Command V here and go up to the Move tool, you can see that I've selected that whole apron minus the leg here, and now it's in layer 2. So this is interesting. We're all working on this one painting, but let me show you some practical ways that you're going to be able to get started in your project too, and that video is coming up next.